Welcome back. Our next guest says a decision to impose tariffs on Canadian goods flowing into the United States could worsen Canadian businesses' tech talent shortage and further decrease Canada's competitiveness in the tech space with the U.S. For more on this, we're joined in studio by Sam Jenkins, co-founder and managing director of Punchcard, a technology consulting firm. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
We've heard for some years about a drain of Canadian tech talent to the United States for reasons that involve, I think, better compensation, maybe lower taxes, maybe better weather in some parts of the United States. You're worried that this tariff and trade situation could worsen that situation, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, when we're looking at Canada's tech ecosystem, talent is the cornerstone for that. If we're looking at tech in general, tech employs almost 11% of our economy. The digital economy is part of the future of Canada. And so when we look at talent moving across the border, whether or not they're moving there physically or working remote, we're not able to build competitiveness and resilience using tech.
When you speak to the companies that you serve, are they worried about this situation involving our relationship with the United States?
Absolutely. Just like in more traditional industries, tech is hesitating on making some decisions right now. We've seen that over the past 60 days, of course, but when it comes to making decisions, the talent that powers tech is really driving how we're going to make those decisions for the future. How
many workers have we lost in recent years to the United States?
Well, the net loss of tech workers over the past year is about 1,792, of which the majority went down to the U.S. And that's a net loss in terms of moving physically. There are plenty of developers, product managers, engineers, architects who are working remotely for U.S. firms.
Is there anything in trade negotiations that can stem this, or is it, is this a byproduct of what may get decided at the trade table?
I think this is mostly a byproduct. I mean, if we're thinking about competitiveness for Canadian firms, it doesn't matter if it's a tech firm or a more traditional industry. A big part of the work that we're doing is knowledge worker based. And if we don't have knowledge workers who are skilling up and empowering our businesses, well, we won't be able to be as resilient. We won't be able to be competitive for the future. And fundamentally, if AI or knowledge implementation is going to help be better for the future, it means we have to have those people in place here to help power that.
What have Canadian companies done to date to retain talent? It sounds like they've got to be willing to pay competitive salaries with what it may be on offer in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a fairly large gap between U.S. pay and Canadian pay. Looking in Canadian dollars, the average technology worker in Canada is about $100,000 versus in terms of a salary. In the U.S., that average salary is $175,000. So that's a fairly large gap.
Is that in consistent currency?
That's Canada to Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a gigantic pay gap, and many of these tech workers are young and mobile. Correct? Young, quite often that means not married, no children. Very mobile, correct?
100%. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said, the remote workforce is also of advantage to those workers as well. And let's be honest, higher pay means more opportunities for these folks. Now, Canadian firms can combat it, but that means that we need to make sure that we are thinking a little bit more competitively. Higher salaries, better perks, more autonomy for Canadian workers in tech jobs.
Is there a role for governments here?
There's always a role for government, for sure. I mean, when we're thinking about skills development and reskilling, I think supporting through grants and funding is absolutely important. And of course, we need more seats in Canadian universities to be able to skill these employees.
So back to the trade negotiations in which the country may be involved very soon with the U.S. government. How important is the outcome of those trade negotiations to this particular story, tech and its ability to retain high-quality workers?
Well, I probably can't comment on what's going to be spoken about at the trade table as it relates to tech workers, but I do know that if tariffs are imposed, that's going to impact how we are able to compensate people both fairly and competitively.
Okay, just remind us what Punchcard does.
So at Punchcard, we build technology for firms who are looking to scale and be competitive for the future, custom software development, and other tools to empower both employees and our customers.